guys, welcome back to a new episode of Laps and Yaps. Today I'm joined by GB4 driver Jason Pribyl. Hello.
How's it going? It's good to be on.
Yeah, okay. Let's just start with, can you give us a quick run through of your racing career so far?
Yeah, so I started racing when I was 6 years old. I think I officially, my first race was when I was seven, but I started doing what we call in the US kid karts, which I think you would call like cadets or like mini inters, as it were. And started racing that, moved up the ladder, basically went from regional and club stuff to more national level events. And when I was 15, I made a move into cars. And I'm 20 years old now, so I've been racing cars for just about 5 years now, and won SCCA Northern Majors Championship, and then I've gotten second in a couple of championships, both in the US and in the UK.
What is the biggest challenge moving from karts to cars?
I think the biggest challenge is that there's really, in terms of actual technique and driving style, there isn't all that much in common between karts and cars. It's been a while since I've made that jump, but if I had to say, it's definitely, in karting you learn a lot of racecraft and just how your mind is able to figure out how to go faster. But in cars, you can use those to your advantage, but the actual technique and driving is completely different. So I'd say about that.
Yeah. What lessons did you learn in your junior series like karting or stuff that you still use in GB4 today?
I think one of my biggest things has always been like staying focused on the track. Not that I'm, distracted and all that, but I've noticed like there are times where I let my mind wander too long when I was younger, and it would start to affect my pace or the way I was managing with other drivers around me. And so when I started to realize that in cars, it was something that I kind of never forgot. And it's been one of my priorities still to this day to make sure I'm managing my mind and making sure that I'm aware of everything.
Yeah. So you've moved from the USA to the UK. Apart from just like the different racing scenes, what's like some culture shocks you've had?
I think I just like living in the UK is very different than in the US. I'd say the main similarity is just that we speak English and then everything else is pretty different. So just the style of living, the roads, obviously driving has been a huge adjustment.
Mm.
And it's simple stuff like even going to the grocery store and not really expecting what you'd find or not really finding what you would expect in the grocery store. I'd say like living in America is a lot more convenient, but living in England is a lot more interesting, just because there's so much history and stuff like that. So it's really cool to just, explore the area and see what the country has to offer. And just in general, everything moves a little bit slower. Everyone's a little bit more relaxed with everything in America. Everyone's kind of on a mission to do something. There's not much talking, not much interactions, transactional relationships with how, like when it's with people that you don't know. And in the UK, people are willing to have a talk and say hello to you while walking past and things like that, which is neat.
Yeah. Well, how like different is the racing scene from the US to the UK?
I think overall, I think like the professionalism of paddocks in the UK is a lot different. I had some time to recently go back over to the US and run with a team, and at least the internal professionalism of them is great. And I know that team to be very good just in general. But overall, I think the paddocks present themselves a lot better in the UK, which I appreciate because it makes sponsorship and things that much more appealing. And just the style of racing, it's a lot more. There's a lot of take and not much give. There's not much side by side racing. It's if you make a move, there's usually only one car.
Mm.
If you're going side by side into a corner, only one of them is going to make it out because there's not as much respect, I would say, in UK racing.
Yeah. How did just the opportunity to race in GB4 come about?
So we've built the team this year,
Yeah.
And that started when I first came to the UK last year. I met some people through Formula Ford, and they introduced me to who is now my team principal, Gary Ward. At the end of last season, we were trying to figure out what to do for next year, and we thought that GB4 was a good championship altogether, but we weren't quite sure who we wanted to go with. And at the end of the day, Gary had just said to me, Jason, you know who I am, you know what I've done. I think we can do it better ourselves. And so we formed a team out of that and raced GB4.
Yeah. Um, with the season coming to a close, one round left, have you had any personal goals that you met this year?
I think I'd like to win a race. I was planning on doing it a while ago,
Yeah.
but certain mistakes have kept me from doing that. I think having the podium and just overall achieving a future for the team has been one of my biggest goals.
Mhm.
Knowing that the people that have invested in me thus far in racing, what they're investing in hasn't gone to waste in any way. It makes me feel good that the future of the team has gone, quite a far ways, and we're looking great for next year. So I'm happy about that.
Um, with each new circuit you raced at this year, which was your favorite?
Definitely Brands GP. That was I didn't really expect to like it as much
Mm.
as I did. Obviously, since I raced Formula Ford last year, I have so many laps around the Indy circuit.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten tired of it, and to the point where I don't even like it. And then we did testing on the Friday at the Indy circuit, and I thought it was a bit more fun in the GB4 car. But once we finally got onto the GB or the GP circuit for the first time, I was just blown away. It was so much fun. It was so cool. It's a beautiful track, and it's just a perfect circuit. It's very intuitive. Every corner is in the right place at the right speed, and I just love it so much.
Yeah, Brand is on my list for next year. What style of track do you consider to be your strength?
I'm definitely good in high speed corners. Certain cars lend certain strengths to me. I think I'm capable of everything in a car, but it does just kind of depend on what car I'm driving. So even the differences between formula cars, like the GB4 car this year, I've definitely struggled to take to and kind of understand it. But say in the US, for example, I was driving a USF Pro 2000, and in that car, I was strongest in high speed corners and relatively strong in braking zones, which haven't necessarily been my strengths in the GB4 car, which has really been like medium speed corners. So it definitely changes between cars, but yeah, it's hard to say exactly what tracks really. I think Brands was definitely my best, so I'd say about that style.
Yeah. Um, how much input do you put into how the car is set up, or is it mostly engineers, like what they say from your data?
Yeah, so on a team like this, it'll probably vary from team to team.
Mm.
But for us, because we're only a five-person team in total, including myself, I've got a lot of say in what happens with the car. So I've got two engineers, and we all sit in a circle and discuss springs, dampers, rebound, and all sorts of stuff like that in preparation for the next session. So I know what's on the car most of the time, and I know what needs to change and why it would need to change.
Five of you, that I didn't
Mhm.
know that. I knew it was a small team. I didn't know it was five of you.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I have my coach, but not all the time. He hasn't been doing super well, so
Mm.
mid-season he wasn't there. But yeah, so it's Gary, Alex Dorman, who's my mechanic, Chris Weller is my engineer, and Metis Berland is my engineer, and then me.
Yeah. Um, how important is consistency to you and your year?
Consistency is, unfortunately, it's been my number one issue this year, but it's always going to be the most important thing.
Mm.
I know that in general, as a driver and just my mindset, I'm the best in race pace. So I'm able to get laps really within, less than half a tenth within each other if I know the car and I feel comfortable in it and things like that. And so I've never been too strong on all out pace, and I've always focused on consistency. This year, I've made a couple of mistakes that kind of hamper that and hamper some, points, positions, and things like that. But overall, I think consistency is the biggest goal because that's how you win championships.
Um, what are your goals for next year? Like, what do you want to race in? What do you want to reach?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say for sure. We've
Yeah.
got obviously the last round, and then we're going to do a couple of tests. But the team is obviously expanding to GB3, and I've been part of this group for a while now, and made some really great friends along the way. And I don't necessarily want to leave that behind. We've worked very hard, and we've worked very hard together. And so, knowing how everyone works just makes a team that much better. It improves the chemistry and things like that. So I'd love to see myself in GB3 next year. We're doing some testing in the car. I'll be the first one to drive it on track, and we'll see where it goes from there. This is no way an announcement, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to move up next year to something a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have three questions that I ask like every driver. If you could race in any series apart from F1, what would it be and why?
WEC, probably hypercar because it's the quickest.
Yeah.
I love endurance racing. It is something that I want to achieve. I think Formula One has always been like a nice goal to have because it's, the biggest, it's the best. Even in America, people don't really
Mm.
know racing besides Formula One and NASCAR. But I've always been interested in like IndyCar and things like that. But my end goal has always been to win the 24 hours of Le Mans, not anything related to Formula One, really. I know the Formula Car ladder is perfect for that, and especially climbing up to as high as you can get on the Formula ladder and then moving over to sports cars. It gives you the best chance in something like hypercar, and that's where I would love to be someday.
Going off from that, because you said endurance, would you want to race in European Le Mans series?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever. I've always been the type of person that goes for the opportunities where they are.
Yeah.
Um, so that's really the bottom line is wherever I can find a seat is where I'll go. And then furthermore, if I get to choose, that's even better. And if that choice comes down to ELMS or wherever it is, I might just pick it.
Yeah. Okay, going back to my other questions. Who within motorsport have you like looked up to?
Hmm.
Like
It's
one
hard to
person?
say I have like any specific idols in motorsport. I think when I was younger, I liked, like Lightning McQueen and stuff like that, but obviously he's not real. So I think like right now, I would say I really admire Alex Palou. I kept an eye on the IndyCar series the entire season, and just watching him dominate. It's a very entertaining dominance that he has, which is different from Formula One, where I think everyone kind of expects the outcome. I mean, not in recent times with what Verstappen's been doing, but still, I think a lot of people sort of know what's going to happen or have a good idea. But in IndyCar, it's always just impressive to see when Polo wins races and things like that. So I admire him, and I think he's a really impressive driver, from my eyes, and I love to see him succeed more.
Yeah, IndyCar is definitely unexpected. When we had the Rasmussen win, yeah, it was bad. Um,
Yeah.
who on the GB4 grid would you trust to pet sit for you if you were going away?
Oh, okay. That's a change in pace.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. I would ideally pick a teammate, but I don't have one of those right now. So I think I'd probably go with another American because all my pets are in America. And the main one that I talk to is probably Caitlin McDaniel. So I would go with her because I think she's probably pretty good with pets and she's American. So she doesn't have to fly all the way over from the UK or anything like that.
Yeah, one of the best answers I got for that question was I asked Lily Mae Watkins. She told me no one. She's like, absolutely none of them.
Which is fair, I'd
Yeah,
say.
it's fair. Okay, and then
Although I've got a lot of pets, so
have
I'd be
you?
good at it. Oh yeah.
What do you
But
got?
all in the US. Right now, I only have two cats and a dog. But then my sister has another cat and a horse. And then we used to have like six cats. So
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah, we've had a lot.
Yeah. Okay, and then I asked people on my Instagram to give questions, but two of them you've already kind of answered, but I'll ask some so I can clip it. How old were you when you started racing?
When I started racing was seven. My
Yeah.
first race was when I was seven. Yeah.
Um, can you tell the good versus the great drivers when you're racing them on track?
Yes and no. I think like when you're not on the team with them, you can tell when, or it takes, a couple of weekends to really be able to tell. The great drivers will be able to improve and just do things that surprise you. When you're on a team with someone, it's pretty easy to tell. Like, it'll take me one weekend to figure out if someone's like an intuitively quick driver or if someone just is doing things only because like that's what they think they should be doing on track. So you could definitely tell. Yeah.
Yeah. If you weren't a racing driver, what would you do instead?
So I'm pretty good at baking, and my family has said if racing never works out, I should become a baker. So I think I'll go with that.
All right. Final question. What is the weirdest question a fan or someone at track has asked you?
Another good one. Probably can't say a couple of them, but I'll go with I think another interview. It's not like that weird, but it was just a little bit surprising. Was
Yeah.
what was it? I think it was just like, what's your favorite confectionery? Which I gave a pretty boring answer, which was just dark chocolate. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's the best. I would pick that over anything else. So
Not anything dark chocolate.
I used to really hate dark chocolate, and I used to only eat milk chocolate up until I was like 15 or 16, and all of a sudden it switched, and now I hate milk chocolate. Absolutely hate it.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for this, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Some good questions in there. It's always nice when you hear a question for the first time, right? And there were a couple of those, so I'm not going to complain. Sometimes they can get a bit monotonous, but this is a good one, so thank you.